How's it going, folks? Can you guys hear me okay? All right, it is 3:01 and I am here, you're here. We're going to get started. I don't think this is all the students that I have in this class, but I like to start the class on time. So, folks, welcome to Bio 130, the lab. My name is Professor Sandro Gilbert. You can call me Professor Sandro, Professor Gilbert. Any way that you want is fine with me. And I am the instructor for this course, both the Bio 130 lab and also for the Bio 130 lecture, if you are taking my lecture at LCC. And today we will hit the ground running. We're already going to cover some material today. We're going to go over lab 1. But before we get there, I want to spend a lot of time today at the beginning of class, really to set the expectations right and to go over Lamaku, to go over the syllabus, really to answer any questions that you might have to make sure that we are all in the same place. Okay, I know that at the beginning of every semester, I've been teaching already for over 10 years. Only this class alone, I've been teaching for 8 years. So I know that at the beginning of every semester, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of unknown. You don't know who the teacher is, you don't know what's going to be covered in class, it's going to be hard, it's going to be easy. I know all of you checked me, my rate, my professor. I know that you all Googled me, just be honest. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we know exactly what to do, what to find, how to find things, so that we're not going to have any issues. Okay? Before we get to talk about Lamaku and the syllabus and the class and grade, exams, etc., I want to do a little introduction. You know, this is the labs are small classes, and we have enough time to do a little introduction. And I'm going to start with my introduction. And then when I'm over, I'm going to be calling you guys' name. And then I just want you to introduce yourself, tell yourself your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us what you want to do when you grow up. Why are you taking this course? Okay, why are you here? I know that is a prereq for HIT, for radio technology, a lot of different healthcare courses out there, but I want to know a little about you. Okay, so let's me start with my little introduction. First of all, you can all tell that I have accents. I've been living in this place for 30 years. Yes, 30 years, more than most of you are being alive. But you can get rid of the accents. So my question to you is, where do you think I'm from? And you can unmute yourselves. So where do you think I'm from? You're not being graded, so don't worry about it. Any guesses?
Are you from Europe?
No, I'm not from Europe. Good guess, though.
Somewhere in South America?
Somewhere in South America. You're getting closer. Where in South America? Not that many countries down there. You're like, let me brush in my geography class. Come on, guys. Put your brains together.
Brazil?
Brazil, good guess. Yes. How'd you guess that right? You flip a coin?
Yeah.
Why not, right? Yes, I am originally from Brazil. But like I said, I've been living in Hawaii for 30 years. I got here in 1995. That tells you how old I am. But I did all of my schooling here. I got my undergraduate. Actually, when I moved here, I didn't even speak any English. So I had to take English as a second language. Then I got my bachelor's in biology from Hawaii Pacific University. And then I got a master's and PhD in molecular biology and bioengineering from UH Manoa. And I graduated with my PhD all the way back in 2009. And when I finished my PhD, I was applying for jobs and I got a postdoctoral position, a research position at the University of Hawaii Cancer Center. Does anybody here know where the UH Cancer Center is? Where is it located? Does anybody know where the UH Medical School is located? Christian? Anybody? I see a little hand here. I thought it was Christian. Do you guys get out of home anytime or just stay home taking online classes? The UH Medical School is not in Manoa. It used to be in Manoa, but about 15 to 20 years ago, it moved from UH Manoa to Kaka'ako Waterfront Park in town. So they built a medical school from the ground up at the Kaka'ako Waterfront Park. And a few years later, they built a cancer center. Beautiful building, all glass walls. When you're working there, you can see the ocean. It's right in front of the ocean. You can see the water and the waves. So they built a cancer center right next to the medical school. Now, what is a cancer center? A cancer center is a designated space where you have all these scientists from all over the world, and we have labs, and they're studying different types of cancer. So I got a job at the UH Cancer Center to study a type of a cancer called mesothelioma. Anybody know what mesothelioma is? What kind of cancer? What organ? Mesothelioma. You see people unmuting and muting themselves. No guesses? It is the cancer of the lining of the lungs. So not of the lung itself, but we're going to learn this in this class. Our lungs, our heart, our brain, they have a membrane protecting them. So the membrane surrounding our lungs is what we call a pleural membrane. And when people are exposed to a type of fiber called asbestos fiber, and you might have heard of asbestos. So when people are exposed to those fibers, when they breathe in the fibers will travel through the respiratory system. Eventually, it will get trapped in that lining surrounding our lungs. And that is where mesothelioma starts. Okay? Now, what is asbestos? Asbestos is actually a natural fiber. It's not a man-made fiber. It is a natural fiber that is mined from rocks. Now, not every rock has asbestos, but some rocks do. And in the 60s and the 70s, scientists discovered that asbestos fiber was very good material to insulate things. For example, insulating pipes, insulating walls, insulating ceiling. So if you look up right now and you see the popcorn ceiling, the ceiling that had texture to it, and if your building, your house, your apartment was built prior to the 1980s, you don't want to touch that stuff because most likely there's asbestos fiber in that ceiling. So you don't want to be scraping or poking or doing anything with it. Now, you don't have to move out of your home if you have your popcorn ceiling, as long as you're not touching it, because then the asbestos fibers, they are trapped. They're not going to be released into the air. But then, so after the 1970s, near the 1980s, scientists discovered that when people, especially workers, like people that work in the construction business, right? And they were using this stuff to insulate walls, insulate pipes, etc. They were coming down with this type of cancer called mesothelioma, which is not a very a cancer you see all the time, very rare, okay, extremely rare. So when scientists all of a sudden, they saw that there was this huge incidence of mesothelioma, they were scratching their heads, like, wait a second, this is not normal. And then they put two and two together after a lot of epidemiological studies. And they noticed that the people that were in the construction business were the people that were actually getting mesothelioma the most among the general population. So, and then they pinpointed the asbestos fibers as the culprit of the cancer. So I worked at the cancer center for 5 years, and my job was to understand how asbestos fiber causes mesothelioma at the cellular and the molecular level. So what I did is that I took a lot of mice. We use mice as models in disease. And I would inject the mice with asbestos, and the mice also develops mesothelioma. So after I injected the mice with the asbestos fiber, then I would track the development of mesothelioma in the animals. And I would collect a blood sample and tissue sample and see what is changing in the animal to understand the progression of the disease. Okay, so I did that for about 5 years. I published a few papers on the subject. We discovered this specific protein that was a driver of mesothelioma. And after 5 years, I moved to Washington, D.C., and I did a second postdoc training there. But in D.C., I was studying a different type of cancer called leukemia, which is a type of a blood cancer. And I spent a year there, came back to Hawaii. And when I came back, I was a little tired of research. I was doing research already for 2 decades. And I decided to go into the classroom. And I've been teaching for, like I said, for about 10 years now, and 8 years teaching anatomy and physiology. Okay, so those are my qualifications to teach this class for you. And I think it's very important that you know a little bit about your teacher and what qualifies your teacher to be, teaching the course and that class. Right? Any questions, guys? By the way, none of this is going to be on the exam, so you don't need to stress about that before you ask. But does anybody have any questions? Okay. If you don't have any questions, I will. Yeah. I'm going to just call the names that I see here on the screen. And again, you can just unmute yourself and just tell us your name, because I will butcher your name, guarantee. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us why are you taking this class. Okay, let's start with Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I would say I'm pretty much raised here for the most part. So when people ask where I'm from, I just say here. And I'm taking this as a prereq for HIT.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Jolianne.
Hi, my name is Jolene, and I was born and raised here. And I'm taking this class because I plan on becoming a radiology tech in the future.
Yes, thank you. Tanaya.
Hi everyone, my name's Tanaya. I was born in Oregon, and I moved to Big Island of Hawaii in December of 2022. I live on Kona side currently, and I'm hoping to get into the rad tech program.
Thank you, Tanaya. Stephanie.
Hi, my name's Stephanie. I'm also going for the Red Tech program. That's the reason why I'm taking this course. I'm from Kentucky. That's where I was born. But because my dad is military, I moved different places, and I've been here for about 5 years.
Thank you, Stephanie. Braylon.
Hi, my name is Braylon. I'm born and raised in Oahu, and I'm taking this course for radiology as well.
Thank you. Shauna.
Hi, my name is Shauna. I'm born and raised from here, and I'm in this course for the KIT program.
HIT, Health Information Technology. Thank you. Kelly?
Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm born and raised here, and I'm taking this class to get into a rad tech program.
Thank you, Kelly. Kiana?
Hi, I'm Kiana. I was born and raised here, and I'm in this course for like nursing programs.
Thank you. Anastasia?
Hi, my name is Anna. I was also born and raised here. I'm taking this class as a prerequisite for HIT.
Thank you, Anna. Genesis?
My name is Genesis, and I'm also born and raised here, and I'm taking this class for our Rad Tech program as well.
Thank you. Shani Ellen?
Hi, I'm Shania Lin. I'm taking this course as a prereq for the pre-nursing program.
Thank you. Christian?
Hello, my name is Christian. I was also born and raised here in Oahu, and I am also looking to get into the Red Tech program.
Red Tech. And Shannon?
Hi, my name is Shannon. I was also born and raised here on Oahu, and I'm also here for the HIT program as well.
All right. As usual, mostly HIT and Red Tech. But welcome all of you, and I really hope that, yes, this is a required class for, those courses, but I really hope that you're also going to be able to learn a little bit more about your body and about your health. I find it really, really interesting, not in a positive way, but I find it interesting that we know so little about our body as we get out of high school, right? Most of us, we have taken a biology class, and that's about it. And a little bit about the cells and DNA and that stuff. But to think that we only have one body, that's it, and that we know so little about it, I think is kind of crazy. I think that we should invest a lot more time and effort teaching about anatomy and physiology early on, not just in the college, but in high school and even middle school. I think that that would be very beneficial. Thank you for the introduction. So what I want to do now, I want to share my screen with you, and I want to go over our Lamaku site. Okay, hopefully all of you had a chance to take a look at the Lamaku site and browse around and click on all the tabs and all the folders. And so let's do this together so that we're able to find everything that we need and also talk about the syllabus, the grading, etc. Okay, give me a second here. All right, guys, can everybody see my screen? Okay. All right, so here we are. When you click on our Lamaku site, this is probably the page that you're going to end up, what we call the landing page. And what I want to focus now, I want to come right here and click on content. So when you click on the content, and then you click on, so you have all these tabs right here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go over some of them together with you. But I want you to click on the course overview, and this is the page that is going to open up. This course overview is like a mini syllabus. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of information that you're also going to find in the syllabus right here in front of you. Easy to find. You don't need to click on anything else. So right here on the course overview, you're going to have our class name, our class number, the CRN for the class. You have my name right here. And very important, you have my contact information, which is sandro@hawaii.edu. Very easy. That is my email address. Folks, this is the best way to communicate with me. Okay? If you have a question, if you have any doubts, if you have any issues, if you have any problems, please send me an email. I'm usually pretty good replying to emails. I usually reply on the same day. Now, if you send me an email at 11 p.m. at night, I'm not going to see it until the next morning. but I usually reply within 24 hours, okay? So if I can solve your problem through email, I'm going to do that. If you have any other issues and email is not going to do it, we can schedule a meeting through Zoom. So we're going to find a time that works for you, that works for me, and we're going to get together and we're going to talk about any issue that you might have. I want you to understand that you are not alone, okay? I am your contact here. I am your main resource, right? Then you have our class time, very, very important. And I have problems with this every semester. This is an online synchronous class. You know, by now we're all versed since the pandemic. We're all well versed with online teaching, right? Taking online classes. And there are several different modalities. You have asynchronous, you have synchronous, you have hybrid, etc. My courses, all the courses that I teach, they're all synchronous, which means that we meet at a specific day and a specific time every week. You are not going to be working on your own, alone, without seeing the teacher. Okay? This class meets every Monday from 3 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. through Zoom. And we are going to be using the same Zoom link every class. And you can find the Zoom link right there. Okay? You can, very easy to find. You're also going to find it on the syllabus as well. Then scrolling down here, there are the required materials. You don't need to purchase anything for my courses. My course is what we call the tax zero. So you have zero cost associated with it. You don't need to buy any, lab manual, textbook, none of that. Okay? Now, there are some resources that we're going to be using. One of them is a website called Edpuzzle. And if you haven't yet, you should and you need to log into the Edpuzzle site. And when you log into the Edpuzzle site, you need to use this class code right here. This will take you to our class on Mondays from 3 to 5:45. Now, when you sign up for the Edpuzzle, please, you need to use your full name, no nicknames. Because a lot of the activities, the in-lab activities we're going to be doing, including today with Lab 1, we will use Edpuzzle for that in-lab activity. And if your name is not there, then I don't know if you have completed the activity. You're not going to get the points for the activity. Okay? So again, if you haven't done yet, you need to click on Edpuzzle link right here, and you need to enter our class code, and you need to sign up with your full name. Okay? There are some optional materials. Again, none of these are required. These are all optional. We have, for example, a website that is hosted by the KCC, the Kapiolani Community College. And it's a website that you're going to find a lot of pictures of models of the human body that you can use. You do need a login and a password, and the login and the password is right here. And there's also a visualization website called the Visible Body. And this is paid. It's a paid website. But in my department at Leeward, we paid for the subscription so that you don't have to pay for it. Now, here's the catch. In order for you to be able to access the website for free, the first time that you sign up, you need to be connected to the LCC Wi-Fi. Okay? I don't know if how many of you ever been to the LCC campus. You don't need to go anywhere, any specific place within the campus to sign up. You can do this from your car in the parking lot. All that you need is your laptop or a tablet. You're going to connect to the LCC Wi-Fi. And to connect to the LCC Wi-Fi, you need your UH username and your UH password. And once you are logged into the LCC Wi-Fi, Then you're going to click on this link right here, and you're going to be able to sign up for the Visible Body website free of charge. Now, the next time you want to use it, you don't have to be at LCC, just the first time that you sign up for it. Okay, and after you sign up, you're going to have 150 days to use it. And again, it's not a requirement, but it's a very useful tool to help you prepare for the exams. And I'm going to talk more about the exams in a bit. Is that clear, folks? Any questions so far? All right. So let's talk about the grading procedures. Folks, my grading is very, very simple and straightforward. There is no weight scale. There is none of that. It is a running point system. What does that mean? It means that the points you earn for the assignments, the activities, the quizzes, the exam, they're going to add up. And whatever you have at the end of the semester is going to be a B, a C, a D, an F, etc. Okay? The total amount of points that you can earn for the lab is 375 points. It's a perfect score. This 375 points is going to be distributed within what we call pre-lab assignments. And I'm going to talk more about them in a minute. So there's a total of 15 labs. So each lab has a pre-lab assignment, which is your homework for this class. Very easy, very simple. I'm going to show you how to do it, how to turn it in. Each one of the pre-lab assignments are worth 5 points, okay, for a total of 75 points just from the pre-lab assignments. The pre-lab assignments are graded by completion. If you complete the pre-lab assignment and you turn it in on time, you get 5 points. You don't complete it, you don't turn in on time, 0 points. Okay? Easy. Another 75 points out of the 375, they're going to come from what we call the in-lab activities. Every lab, including today, we are going to do an in-lab activity. Okay? A lot of the activity is going to be just watching a video on Edpuzzle, like today. And again, they are graded by completion. If you complete and you watch the video until the end, you get 5 points. You don't watch the video, you get no points. Okay? Another 75 points will come from what we call the in-lab quizzes. Every lab, including today, there will be a quiz at the end of the lab. It is the last thing that we do before we are done for the day. So there is a total of 15 in-lab quizzes, one per lab, for 5 points each one of them. The in-lab quizzes, guys, are super easy, 5 questions only. And they are open book. I don't care what you use to answer the in-lab quizzes. You can use the PowerPoint. You should use the PowerPoints. You can use the lab manuals. You can use Google. You can talk to each other if you want to, with the other classmate. I don't care. It is open book. But once you start it, you have 30 minutes to complete it, okay? But it literally will take you 5 minutes to do the quizzes. Super easy, okay? All right. Now, the rest of the points, which is 150 points, it will come from 3 lab exams. Each one of the exams are worth 50 points, each one of them. Now, unlike the quizzes, which are open book, the lab exams are proctored and closed book. You cannot use any notes, no PowerPoints, no internet. It's just you and the exam. Okay? The exams are going to be taken online on Lamaku. And on the day of the exam, we're not going to have a class. Instead of coming here at 3 p.m. on Monday, we're going to come here at 3 p.m. and we're going to take the exam. There's not going to be a class that day. We're going to be taking the exam. And you're going to have 1 hour and 10 minutes to take the exams. Okay, very, very important. Because the exams are closed booked and proctored by me, you must have your camera on while taking the exams. I would like for all of you to have your cameras on during the classes, during the regular classes, but I understand if you can't keep it on all the time. However, in order for you to take the exam, you need to have your camera on all the time you're taking the exam. If you don't have your camera on, you cannot take the exams. Okay, so make sure your cameras are working. All right. Also, for the exams, you are not allowed to take the exam with other classmates, and you cannot share or receive information about the exam questions. Unless you have some serious issue in which you cannot be in class, there is no makeup of exams, no makeup of labs. Folks, and this is very important. I need everybody's attention here. Look at the name of this. This is in-lab activities and in-lab quizzes, which means that you're going to be doing them during the lab. If you are not present in the lab, you will not get the points for the in-lab activity. You will not get the points for the in-lab quiz. Okay? You need to show up for the labs. We only meet once a week. You need to come to the labs because you will miss those points. There is no makeup. Okay? Any questions, guys? All right, moving on. Then down here, you have again, you have a little schedule, which again, you can also going to find it on the syllabus, and we have a file called the course schedule. But you can see right here, everything that we're going to be doing for the entire semester. So today, week 1, we're going to go over lab 1. We're going to do in-lab activity for lab 1. We're going to take the in-lab quiz for lab 1. Now, because today was the first day of class, you didn't know any better. So the pre-lab for lab 1 is not going to be due until week 3. Why? Because next week, Monday, is a holiday. We don't have lab next week, Monday. So you don't need to turn in any pre-lab assignments next week, Monday. But for week 3, you need to turn in the pre-lab for lab 1, and you need to turn in the pre-lab for lab 2. Both of them are due on this September 8th before 3 p.m. And I'm going to show you how and where to submit the pre-lab assignments. Okay? And then you can see right here that week 7, we're going to have our first lab exam. Already on week 7, we're going to have our first lab exam. And the first lab exam is going to cover bones and muscles. And guys, the first lab exam is the most difficult exam of the semester. Because we have a lot of bones. We have a lot of muscles to remember. Now, the good news is that I'm going to offer you a study guide for each one of the labs. There's a study guide for lab 1, a study guide for lab 2, and a study guide for lab 3. And I'm going to show you where to find them and how to use them. Folks, any questions about the pre-labs, in-lab activity, lab quizzes, lab exams? Don't be scared of asking questions. Okay, moving on. Now, we're still here on the contents page, and I want to take a look at this folder right here, which is a very important folder, and this is why I call it important resources. So if you click on that, we're going to have several things that is going to open up right here. Let's go over each one of them, okay? Let me close this here. All right, so let's start right here, the course learning outcomes. If you click on that, you're going to have a course learning outcome, which means what you need to know by the end of the semester. What are the things that you should know about the body when you're done with this course? Going back to important resources, we have an online course tools. And here you're going to find information if you have never taken an online course, a little bit more information about online courses, online etiquette, and how to navigate on Lamaku. Go back to the important resources. Next, we have a course-specific information. If you click on that, you are going to have access to our OER. There's a textbook, which I happen to be one of the co-authors for this textbook. So we developed a textbook for Biol 130, and it's an OER, open resource open educational resource. So you don't have to pay anything for it, okay? Now, also, if you scroll down here, you have information about how the pre-lab assignments work, how do in-lab activities work, how do in-lab quizzes work, and how do exams work. Go back to important resources. Here you're going to find the syllabus for our course, and also we have a course schedule. If you click on that, you can see right here everything that we're going to be doing every class time until the end of the semester. Okay? Scroll down here, you're going to have a PowerPoint slide folder. If you open that, you have the PowerPoint slides for all the classes from Lab 1 all the way to Lab 15. And guys, the PowerPoint slides that I covered in class, that is your most important resource to help you prepare for the exams. Together with the video recordings, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm recording the video lecture, and I'm going to make them accessible to you after the end of the class. You're going to be able to watch those video lectures again. Okay? Right here, you have a folder for the lab manuals. So there's a total of 15 lab manuals that, again, you can use to help you answer the questions in the exam, can help you answer questions in the quizzes. We have a pre-lab assignments file where you're going to find the pre-lab assignments, and there's another place where you're going to find it as well. And very important, you have a lab exam list. And you can see here, there are 3 lists. Exam 1 list, Exam 2, and Exam 3. These are the study guides for the exams, folks. Okay? Each one of the exams are going to cover a different part of the body. The first exam is going to cover bones and muscles. Second exam, nervous system, ear, eye, and heart. And the last exam, the third exam, is going to cover digestive, urinary, and the reproductive systems. Let's click on this first one right here. Right there. Folks, here you will find the name of the bones that you need to know, the bone list, and the name of the muscles that you need to know for the first exam. If it is a bone or a muscle that is not included in this list here, you are not responsible for it. Okay? So what does that mean? I want you guys to understand the implication of this. Any question that I might possibly ask in the exam, the first exam, the answer is right here in the list. So you don't have to guess. It is right here. Now, It is, like I said, it is a lot of bones, it is a lot of muscles. And you guys need to start studying for that exam today. You need to print this list right here. And you need to go over one by one and start finding out where that structure is. What is a frontal bone? What is a parietal bone? Where is a temporal bone? What are the markings on the temporal bone? We have external auditory meatus. We have the zygomatic process of the temporal. We have the mastoid process of the temporal. And then as you go through the bones, then start going through the muscle list. What is the frontalis muscle? Where do you find it? Where is the orbicularis oculi? Where is the orbicularis oris? You need to start going through the list. If you wait until the week before the exam to start to study, you will fail that first exam. I am not trying to scare you. I am trying to warn you. Okay? Remember, the first exam is 7 weeks from now, and you have plenty time to prepare, but you need to start now. Don't wait, guys. Another thing that I want to mention about the exams are only going to cover anatomy. There will be no physiology questions. What does that mean? Anatomy is the study of the structure, naming the structures. What are the parts of the heart? What are the different bones? What are the different muscles? Physiology is the study of the function. How does the heart work? How does the brain function? How do we move a muscle? That's physiology. You are only responsible, all the questions in the exams, for all the exams, will be only anatomy questions. Only naming of structure. Okay? For example, right here, folks, in our forehead, we have a muscle. This muscle right here. This is what we call the frontalis. So I'm going to have a picture of a model in which is showing this muscle right here. And there's going to be an arrow pointing to the muscle, and you need to name it. Frontalis. Orbicularis oculi. Surrounding our eyes, we have two muscles right here. They help us opening and closing our eyes. These are what we call the orbicularis oculi. Okay? So again, these are the kind of questions you're going to see in the first exam. Folks, any questions about the exam lists and the exams? Question. Go ahead, Damien. Can you unmute yourself? I missed where to find it. Sure, no problem. Again, if you go to content, go to important resources, scroll down, and you're going to find lab exam lists. Okay? Any other questions, guys? No questions. Alrighty. So then the last thing I want to mention here is this anatomy links right here. If you click on the anatomy links, these are all different resources, free resources that you guys can use to help you prepare for the class. For example, there's the San Diego Mesa College. If you click on it, you're going to have, different muscles, different bones, and the models that you're going to be looking at. And you need to familiarize yourself with these models, because this is something very similar to this that I will be using in our exams. They are models of the body, okay? Just like what you're looking at right here. Okay, so there are several resources, again, free resources that I gathered together and put it up here so that you guys can use to help you prepare for the class. All right, moving on. Now, under the important resources here, on the left-hand side, you're going to see all these week folders. There's week 1 all the way through week 17. Folks, this is where you're going to find what we're going to be doing every week. So let's click here on week 1. When we click on week 1, we're going to see there is the lab 1 lab manual, and a PDF file is going to open for this right here. Okay, just like that. So that's lab 1, language of anatomy and physiology, which we're going to go over today. Then, let me go back here to week 1. You're going to find a in-lab activity. So after I'm done with the lecture today, the way that the labs are going to work is I give my lecture, then you guys are going to do your in-lab activity. After you're done with the in-lab activity, then you're going to take the in-lab quiz. Okay, so after we're done with the lecture, then you're going to click here on in-lab activity. And it's going to take you to our Edpuzzle site. Right here, they're all linked, okay? And this is the in-lab activity for today. You're going to be watching a video that discusses about the introduction to anatomy and physiology, the language of anatomy and physiology, which is an 11 minutes and 20 seconds long video. Embedded in the video, there will be questions. Those questions are not graded, okay? Remember, you get graded by completion of watching the video. But as you're watching the video, all of a sudden, the video will freeze, will stop. Because if the video stops, it's because there's a question that you need to answer and click submit to keep playing the video until the end. Okay? But again, don't worry about the questions. Answer to the best of your knowledge. You're not going to be graded based on those questions. It's going to be based on completion. All right, going back to week 1 right here. Then you have your in-lab quiz. When you're done with the in-lab activity, then you're going to click on the quiz. And once you click on the quiz will open for you. And then you're going to be able to take the quiz. Again, the quizzes are open book. And you have 30 minutes to take the quiz. Going back to week 1 here, you're going to also have access to the PowerPoint slides that I'm going to go over today. Okay, and you can see right here at the bottom, there is a lab video recording. After I am done with the class and the video has uploaded, I'm going to take that video and I'm going to put it right here of our lecture today. So you're always going to have access to it. You can watch it again if you want to, if you have any questions, okay? But you're going to have access to all the video recordings. And the same is going to be for every single one of the weeks. So if you click here on week 2, there's nothing there because it is a holiday. We don't have a lab next week, Monday. And you click on week 3. Week 3, we're going to go over lab 2. And you can find the lab manual, activity, in quizzes, PowerPoints, etc. And if you click here on week 7, that's where you're going to find our first exam. So exam 1 is already scheduled right there, which is going to be on October 6th. It's going to be the first exam. Okay? Any questions, guys? All right. Now let's go over here on top. Let's take a look at the assignments tab right here. Everybody stay with me. So if you click on the assignments tab right here on top next to the content, this is where you are going to submit your pre-lab assignments. Once again, the assignments tab is where you're going to submit your pre-lab assignments. As we can see right here, there is no pre-lab assignment for week 1 and week 2. Week 1 because this is the first day of class. Week 2 because it is a holiday. So the pre-labs for lab 1 and the lab 2 will be due on September 8th, on week 3 by 3 p.m. Guys, if you come right here and you click on the lab 1 pre-lab assignment, this page is gonna open up, and here you're gonna have a submit assignment, right? You're gonna click on here, add a file, and this is how you're going to submit the pre-lab assignment. Now, what does the pre-lab assignment looks like? I'll click right here on the lab 1 pre-lab assignment, the PDF. Let's open this up. This is the lab 1 pre-lab assignment. And the lab 1 pre-lab assignment is going to be about the regions of the body, which I'm going to be talking about today in class. And we have both the anterior view and the posterior view, and you need to label the different regions and subregions of the body. And as I said, this is something I'm going to be discussing today. Now, where would you find information to answer these questions? 2 places. You're going to find information to answer the pre-lab assignment questions in the PowerPoint slides and in the lab manuals. Those are the places you're going to look for the answer. And you're going to find the answers right there. Okay? So after you complete this assignment right here, folks, let's say that you don't have a software that you can write right on this PDF file. What can you do? What you can do is that you can print this page right here. You can fill them up, label them by hand. Take your phone, take a picture of your completed pre-lab assignment, and take that file, the picture file, and upload it right here into the pre-lab assignment. Okay, so there's many, it doesn't matter how you do it. You can save it as a PDF, you can save it as a JPEG, you can save it as a Word file. It doesn't matter what kind of file it is. You just need to have it completed and submitted by the deadline. And the same is going to apply for every single one of the pre-lab assignments, okay? Again, also next week, not next week, 2 weeks from now, you have the lab 2 pre-lab assignment, and you can find the PDF file right there. So you're going to complete this, you're going to fill this up, and then you're going to submit the completed assignment. Folks, any questions about the pre-lab assignments? Very important, guys. If you don't submit the assignment by the deadline, I do not accept late pre-lab assignments. You cannot send them to me by email. You need to upload them right here on Lamaku. As you can see right here, all of them are open. You don't have to wait until the deadline. You can start submitting as many pre-lab assignments as you want. You can submit it all the way to the end of the semester. They are all open. Now, they all have different deadlines, but they are all open, and you can submit them as you want to. Okay? Guys, does anybody have any questions about the Lamaku site and where to find things? Nothing. Alrighty. I'll trust you. But again, if you have any questions, you can always rewatch that video, which is going to be uploaded at the end of class. Okay? All right, so if you don't have any questions, we are going to get started with our first lab. So let me share my screen with you so we can go over to our first lab. Just a second. I have a question here. We only turn in the lab assignments, not the full manual, right? Absolutely, Christian. You don't turn in the full manual. If you look at the pre-lab assignments, you're going to find the PDF file for each one of the pre-lab assignments, and it only includes the pre-lab assignments. Okay? Good question. All right, folks. All right, so before we get started, oftentimes I get this question in my classes. Professor, is it possible to get an A in your class? Well, I don't want to just answer that. I am a scientist. I like data. I work with data. So I want to prove to you guys that yes, absolutely, it is possible to get an A in this class. As you can see right here in this graph, folks, and this is data from the spring 2023, in which I had the 52 students total ended the class for Bio 130 lab. And we can see that over 60% of the students got either an A or a B for the class. Okay, not too shabby. Now, we can also see, however, that about 17% of the students, they fail the class. So what do you need to do then to be in this group right here to get an A or at least a B for the class? There's a couple of things that you need to do. Number one, you need to make sure you are attending the class. Okay? Because again, if you miss a class, you will not get points for the in-lab quizzes. You will not get points for the in-lab activities. So you need to attend class. Two, you need to start looking at those exam lists. Make sure that you start studying for them and start going over them right now for the first exam. Don't wait. Okay? Focus on the PowerPoint slides, because everything that I cover, that I ask in the exams, and the quizzes for that matter, will be on the PowerPoint slides. And finally, rewatch the videos if you have to. You're going to have access to the video lectures. Watch them again to help you prepare for those exams. Okay? But it's absolutely doable to get an A for the class. All right, so let's start lab one. And lab one talks about the language of anatomy and physiology. What is that? What does that mean? Folks, I don't know how many of you ever had a chance to learn another language. Okay? And if you had a chance to learn another language, you know that it's not something that you learn in a day or a week. It takes repetition. It takes time to be able to communicate in another language. Well, guess what? Learning anatomy and physiology, for the matter, is like learning a new language. There's specific nomenclature, there's specific jargon that you need to know in order to be able to absorb that information. And this is what we're going to go over today. We're going to talk a little bit about this new language, which is the language of anatomy and physiology. Okay? And as we learn about the language of anatomy and physiology, we're going to talk about what we call body positions. So what are the important body positions in which we can place a body? We're going to talk about body planes and sections. How can we cut a body, and what do we name those planes and those sections that we cut it? We're going to talk about directional terms, and we're going to talk about regional names. So let's get started with the body position. And the most important, without a doubt, the most important body position that we have, that we can place a body, is something called the standard or universal anatomical position. What is the standard or universal anatomical position? Folks, in the standard or universal anatomical position, what you're going to do is that individual is going to be standing upright, okay, with the 2 feet on the ground parallel to each other. The face is going to be facing forward, just like what we see right here in this lady. Arms is going to be to the side of the body. And very, very important, I want everybody to notice here, the hands are open and the palms of the hands are facing forward. This is the standard or universal anatomical position. Why is it called universal? It's called universal because it doesn't matter where you are, this position will always be the same. It doesn't matter if you're practicing, if you're a healthcare professional in Brazil or the US or China or Africa, the standard anatomical position is the same. Now, that being said, we all know that we are not flat objects on a piece of a paper, right? Or on the screen. We are three-dimensional objects. And as a three-dimensional objects, we can look at this object in different views, what we call aspects. What we're looking at right here with this lady, this view right here is what we call the anterior view. Because we're looking from the front, but we're not going to call it front. This is the anterior view. If I was looking at this lady from the back, this is what we call the posterior view. So again, anterior, posterior. If I was looking at this lady from the top, this is what we call the superior view. You know, let's say I'm climbing up a ladder and looking at someone from the top of the head. This is a superior view. Let's say I was looking at this lady here from the bottom. This is what we call the inferior view. Let's say I was looking at this lady from the sides right here. This is what we call the lateral view. So let's recap. We have anterior, posterior, superior, inferior, and lateral. Now, for the lateral aspect or the lateral view, we have two different laterals. We have the left lateral and we have the right lateral, right? If you're looking from the left or if you're looking from the right. I have a question here. We only turn in the lab assignment, not the, oh wait, no, I already saw that. Sorry, Professor, I'm not sure if it is just me, but my screen is black. Oh. Is anybody having the same issue? That's weird. And you guys only tell me that now? Hold on a second. Strange. Let's try this again. Can you guys see my screen now? Now, if I move to the next page, can you see it? Okay. All right, so as I was saying, then we have a different views, right, of the standard anatomical position. Now, the standard anatomical position is not the only position in which we can place a body. We can also place a body in a supine position, in which that individual is lying on his back and the face is pointing up, or we can put it in a prone position, in which the individual is lying on his belly. So these are three different body positions, but they are not the only one, but are some of the most important ones. Okay, guys, any questions? And please do me a favor, if you can unmute yourself, it's easier than looking at the chat while I'm, looking at the PowerPoint slides. Any questions, folks? All right. So that was the body positions. Let's talk now about what we call the body planes, also called the body sections. What is this? Folks, the body planes or the body sections, these are cuts that we can make through a body or an organ, like a heart, a brain, a lung. And those cuts are very precise. They are not random, but they are very specific, very precise. And those cuts, they have a name. When we cut a body right through the middle of the body, as we can see right here, okay? When we cut the body right through the middle, this is what we call the mid-sagittal plane or a mid-sagittal section. Now, a mid-sagittal section is going to split the body into two halves, the right half and the left half. Now, those two halves are equal. They're the same because the cut is right through the middle. Now, what if you make a cut, but the cut now is not right in the middle? What if it's more towards the left or more towards the right side? Now, this is what we call a parasagittal section. Okay, so mid means middle, para means off-center. Then we have a cut called the frontal or coronal section. And a frontal or coronal section will split the body or an organ into the anterior half and the posterior half. Imagine I have a knife coming right from the top of my body and then splitting my body into the anterior half and the posterior half. Then we have a cut or a plane called the transverse or cross section. And in this one, you're going to divide the body into the superior half and the inferior half. And finally, we can cut a body or an organ using diagonal cuts like this. And these are what we call the oblique sections or oblique plane. Okay, so again, to recap, we have a mid-sagittal, parasagittal, frontal or coronal. We have a transverse or cross, and we have a oblique plane or oblique sections. Any questions, folks? All right. Now, as I said, the body sections and planes doesn't just apply to a whole body. It can also apply to a single organ, like a brain, for example. So I want you guys' help right here. I'm going to give you this first one. So this cut right here is dividing the brain into the left half and the right half. This is what we call the mid-sagittal. And it's called the mid because it's right in the middle. Now, if the cut wasn't right in the middle of the brain, this would be what we call a parasagittal section. Can anybody tell me what is this plane here called? In which we're going to cut the brain into the anterior half and the posterior half. What is this called, guys? Come on, help me out. That's where the participation comes in.
Is that one the coronal plane?
Yes, absolutely. Also called a frontal. Okay, so when we cut a frontal or a coronal plane or coronal section, then we're going to get the anterior and the posterior half. Very good. And then we have this other cut right here, this other section, which is splitting the brain into the superior half and the inferior half. What is this section called?
Is that one the cross section?
That is a cross section, absolutely. Also called a transverse, okay? So that is a transverse or a cross section. Excellent, guys. All right, moving on. So we talked about body position. We talked about body plane or section. Now we're going to talk about what we call directional terms. What are directional terms? Directional terms are words that are used to help explain the location of one body structure in relation to another body structure. And a structure in our body could be superior in relation to another structure, or it could be inferior in relation to another structure. Let me give you examples. Our nose is superior to our mouth. Our forehead is superior to our belly button. Why? Because the forehead has a superior aspect in relation to the belly button. On the flip side, then I can say that my belly button is inferior to my forehead, or my belly button is inferior to my chin, or my chin is inferior to my nose, because my chin has a more inferior aspect. Okay? Now pay attention though. Directional terms always compare one structure to another. Because if I came here to you and I said, guys, my nose is superior, you're going to look at me funny, right? Like there's something special about my nose, and there isn't. Because I can't just say that something is superior, period, or something is inferior. No, my nose is superior to my mouth, or my nose is superior to my chin. Its structures can also be anterior or posterior in relation to another structure. A structure that is anterior is a structure that is closer to the anterior aspect of the body. You know, we have a bone right here in the middle of our chest. And this
Sorry,
is,
Professor.
yeah.
My screen is still stuck on the two body planes.
Gosh, why is this doing that? Guys,
When you were,
you need
yeah,
to tell me
sorry.
before I move on. I don't know why it's happening. I see something different than you guys. All right, so let me go back here. So anterior and oh, it's not showing at all. This PDF are having issues. Hold on, guys. It's very strange. One. Hmm. Try this again. I have to figure this out later. All right, you guys see now the directional terms? Anterior and posterior?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully we'll keep showing. This is it never happened before. So again, directional terms of anterior and posterior, it also means that a structure is in a different location in relation to another structure. As I was saying earlier, in the front of our chest, we have a plate of bone that is called the breastbone, also called the sternum. So the sternum, the breastbone, would be anterior in relation to our spine. And the spine would be posterior in relation to the breastbone. Okay? Its structures can also be medial, lateral, or intermediate in relation to another structure. A structure that is medial is a structure that is closer to what we call the midline of the body. So if you take a look right here, right in the middle, we have this line. This is called the midline. And the structures that is closer to the midline in relation to another structure is said to be medial. For example, our heart is medial in relation to our arms, or the heart is medial in relation to our shoulders, because the heart is closer to the midline of the body. On the flip side, a structure that is farther away from the midline of the body is called the lateral. So the arms are lateral to the breastbone, or the arms are lateral to our heart. And a structure that is in the middle of something medial and something lateral is what we call the intermediate. For example, our clavicle right here, which is this bone, also called the collarbone, this is intermediate between the breastbone and our shoulders. Okay, why? Because it is in the middle of something medial and something lateral. So it's said to be intermediate. Its structures can also be proximal or distal in relation to another structure. And we use proximal and distal, folks, when we are talking about the structures in our arms and our legs. Because when we say something is proximal, it means that a structure is closer to the point of attachment of the limb to the body. So let's give some examples to try to make this clear, okay? So what is the point of attachment of our arm to the body? The point of attachment is going to be our shoulders, right here, right? This is where the arms are attached to the body. And the point of attachment of the legs to the body would be right here at the hips. Okay? All right, so with that information in mind, let's use some examples here. Can anybody tell me what is the elbow to my wrist? Is the elbow proximal to the wrist, or is the elbow distal in relation to the wrist? What do you guys think? Answer here.
Proximal.
It is proximal, absolutely, okay? It is proximal. Why? Because the elbow is closer to the point of attachment of the arm to the body. So on the flip side, the wrist is distal in relation to the elbow. All right, let's do another one in the legs now. Can anybody tell me what is the ankle to the knee? What is the relation of our ankle to our knee?
Distal?
Distal, absolutely. Why? Because the ankles are farther away from the point of attachment of the leg to the body, which happens to be at the hips. Okay? Excellent, guys. And finally, structures can also be either superficial or deep. A structure that is superficial is a structure that is at or towards the surface of the body. A structure that is deep is a structure that is farther away from the surface of the body. What are we looking at here in this cartoon, folks? We are looking at the cross section, also called the transverse section, of the thoracic cavity. We can see right here the heart in the middle, and then to the sides we can see our lungs right there. Okay, it is a cut done right through the chest. Here, this would be anterior. This is posterior. This is the right. And this would be lateral. Can anybody tell me what is the veil that we have right here? What is this aspect, the veil? Remember, is it anterior, posterior, superior, inferior, or lateral? How are we looking at this cross section, guys? Right here.
Anterior?
No, not anterior.
Superior?
Superior, absolutely, right? So we took a slice of our chest, and then let's say we put it on a table, and we're looking at it from the top. Okay, so this is the kind of a thing that you guys need to start getting used to as you look at these different figures. So this would be a superior view of a transverse section of the thoracic cavity. Okay. And finally, and this is the last thing we're going to talk about today, I want to talk about what we call the regional names, the region and subregions of the body. What are regions and subregions? So what scientists and doctors decided to do, because our body is so extensive, right? What they decided to do to facilitate diagnosis and to facilitate communication is that they decided to divide the body into different regions and subregions. When you look here at these writings, folks, the ones that are in bold, like cephalic, upper limb, lower limb, menis, abdominal, pelvic. These are all regions of the body. And of course, we have regions both in the anterior aspect as well as the posterior aspect. Now, under the Boden here, under cephalic, we have a frontal, orbital, nasal, buccal, etc. These are what we call the sub-regions of the body. So when we talk about our entire forehead, this is what we call the frontal cephalic region. So frontal is the sub-region, cephalic is the region. So let's say that we had a cut. You are a doctor, okay? And you see a patient, and the patient has a cut right here, right in that spot right there. And you, as a good doctor that you are, and you need to do this anyway, you need to report what kind of injury that patient has. So you're going to look at this patient and you're going to put down on your notes, the patient has a 2-inch laceration on the left side of the frontal cephalic region. So any doctor or any nurse, any healthcare professional that takes your note and read it, oh, it is a cut, a laceration of 2 inches in the left aspect in the frontal cephalic region. They will know exactly where that cut is. Okay, and this is where the regional names and the region and subregion come in place. And guys, for your Lab 1 pre-lab assignment, and for the quiz also today, you're going to have questions about this in the quiz, and your entire Lab 1 pre-lab assignment, you're going to find the answers right here. This is where you're going to come to answer the pre-lab 1 lab assignment. you're going to put down the regions and the subregions of the body, both in the anterior view as well as the posterior view. Any questions, folks? Alrighty. All right, so what are we going to do today? So I am done with my lecture. So I always give the lecture first. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on that in-lab activity on week 1, and that is going to take you to the Edpuzzle video. And the Edpuzzle video is going to walk you through again through the language of anatomy and physiology. Okay, like I said, it's about 11 minutes long video. There will be questions embedded in the video, which is going to stop your video from playing. You need to answer the questions and submit it so the video keeps on playing. The grading is done by completion. If you watch the video until the end, you get the 5 points. For our next meeting, which is not next week, but 2 weeks from now, you need to have done the pre-lab 1 and the pre-lab 2 pre-lab assignments, and have done them and submit them under the assignments tab on Llama Okay? Any questions, folks? All right, if you don't have any questions, we're all going to stay here. So you're going to jump on Llama and you're going to click on the in-lab activity to watch the Edpuzzle video. After you're done with the Edpuzzle video, you don't need to submit anything, okay? It is submitted automatically. It's going to record your name and your completion of the video. After you're done with the Edpuzzle video, then you're going to jump back on Llama and you're going to click on the in-lab quiz, and you're going to take the quiz. After you're done with the quiz, you can just log off the call. All right, let's get started.